Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're playing a game called Total Extreme Wrestling today. It's a bit like Football Manager, but for pro wrestling games. You don't ever actually play the matches. It is all just about booking the company, booking the show, making sure you're the best company in the business. We'll be jumping into that just now. I've set us up so we're pretty much just about to select we've just selected our avatar, and we're moving on to our first day as booker of the company. The company I've chosen is the one based in Scotland, mainly because I'm from Scotland, as you could probably guess from the accent. We are playing as the head booker, so we don't own the company, but we're in charge of making the matches and everything like that. So once it finishes loading on my system, brilliant. Let's transition in. So this is the screen that it'll come to by default every time you start the game. On this screen you get the information about the previous day's events. This stuff's pretty much always the same, except for it'll tell you your character taking control, unless you've chosen the same person who already ran or owned the company. First thing you want to do is go to the office, and yeah, this is SNP, which is Scottish National Promotions. You don't have a lot of thought process you need in this one. It's just be violent. It's a bit like ECW back in the day, or ICW currently. So, what we'll do. As you can see, we've got 19 days before our first event, and we don't have a TV show. So, we'll check through the roster we've got. There's quite a few people. It can look very overwhelming. So, just pulling up to check. We're going to look at the top stars in the company first. So, there's Highland Warrior. He is just a personality. You wouldn't use him in a match, but you can see down, I don't know if you can see on my mouse, but underneath the status box, it tells you what they work as. So you've got a few wrestlers here. Can close that off. You'll want to go through all of this if you're actually playing the game. So we need storylines, and luckily the game starts you with some storylines, so you don't need to worry too much. The fact that there are people who aren't a fan, the fact that this is meant to be the Scottish show, means it's quite easy just to work it as the English are the bad guys. I had a wee idea for a gimmick to run when in this, so we're going to have a quick look and see if anyone would actually be able to run that. I'm going to take 2 seconds here, I'm really sorry. Sorry about that. The cat decided this was the exact time that it needed to start its shite. So yeah, you should now be able to see the filter screen. I also realised that wouldn't have popped up. So you can search by nationality, search by the language people speak. It's incredibly in-depth for pretty much just a basic game. You don't have good guys and bad guys in the what's the word I'm looking for? In this company, but you can in different ones. They're faces and heels normally. So we're just trying to find someone who will work with a certain gimmick type. Trying to remember exactly where that would work, but yeah, it would still be under roster. Yeah, so let's pick, for the sake of it, Piccolo, because that is gonna be the most basic name they can get. Prepared gimmick change. Get some inspiration because this is the old ones. The older games had these, the newer ones don't so much. There should be one which is still in existence. No? Royalty I thought was still a thing in this. Okay, well maybe this plan won't work as well as I thought it would. That's fine. I was going to go with a King Arthur gimmick, but I don't think that'll work as well as I was hoping it would. Ah well, it happens. We can move on and just start the basics. Creative, you'd go here, it'll tell you who your main superstars are, who's up and coming, and who could be up and coming in the next wee while, the next few years. Your mic workers, the people you want at the top of the show, the people who are best in the ring, people who are on a bit of a roll right now from momentum wise, and those who are failing. Luckily we don't have any who are failing. Hidden gems are people that don't work for you. You might notice that there's there's a lot of puns in the game. So Puffy the Sandiron player, for example. Hidden gems are people that essentially is suggesting you hire instead. We'll hire Strife just for the sake of you seeing the hiring process a bit later on. Doesn't need to do anything with this. You can go very much how much you want to offer them, everything like that. They should probably just accept that, no problem. So making the offer, and they'll email us in the next couple of days if they're happy with that or not. Teams, running through what tag teams you have available to you. There's a few. It's not the biggest deal right now. All of this will be more important when we actually get to an event, and I'll probably be skipping ahead a few days to get us there. Obviously these are the titles we've got. So a tag title, a singles title at the top, and the hardcore title, which will be quick changes. Let's set it up as just moving on until we have a decision from... We'll just move on day by day. It's not the biggest deal. Each of the times you move on, it'll pull up a random profile for a different character within the game. It can crash during this part, but it's not the end of the world if it does, because it will move on in a few minutes. It just needs the time to catch up with where it was. So, you can probably see the wee decisions thing at the bottom, no, emails, sorry, at the bottom right. That'll be that the boss has told us things he wants us to do. Jumping into the office and owner goals, specifically. He wants us to make more money, because I think you always want to make more money. And you can't have, they don't want us hiring high flyers or those who are impactful. That can affect who you've already attempted to hire, so we should probably check and see what his style is. His style is Daredevil, so we're okay there. If it had been one of the ones that was forbidden, we would not be able to use it, because we couldn't hire him. The boss doesn't want us to. I don't believe we have a women's division on the show, just from memory. Any nationality, there we go. Women. Yeah, all three of the women are management rather than actual wrestlers, so they'll just be the mouthpiece for pro wrestlers. There's not a lot we're going to need to do until our first show, which is in 19 days, but it doesn't mean things won't happen in that time. We should hear from Strife in the next day or two, for example. And I'll be able to show you what's happening with other countries across the in-game world. Once the loading screens do move on. The reason they can take a little bit of time is purely with the sheer amount of data it's trying to pull through, because it does run every other company in the game in the background. So yeah, it tells you things that aren't relevant to you, because the Burning Hammer of the Wrestling Gods is, I'm pretty sure, in Japan. That one's a Mexican show. I don't actually know if there's going to be any British ones, because it's worldwide stuff. They don't want to just tell you about your area in case you try to expand. Looking through this, yeah, pretty much everything is going to be US or Japan or Mexico or not the UK anyway. Jumping back to here, you can look at the size section of it, and that tells you how you can become a bigger company. We're currently tiny, and if we ever drop below 17 popularity in Scotland, we would drop down to insignificant. Whereas, as it says there, next size small. If we can get 35, we're currently on 22, then we are at the higher level of building a fan base. You can check broadcasters to see if any of them are willing to give you a TV deal. When we're tiny, I really doubt we would be given one, but I'll check. So you search, will negotiate, yes. Yeah, no broadcasters are willing to take us on at this point. It means essentially it's live shows only for us. What I might do is I might try and tweak things a little bit so that we have a women's division, but the boss might not be a fan of that if that's not what he's aiming for on his show. Being the booker instead of the owner does give you an extra set of challenges, and it means it's a bit more interesting because it's not how you want to run it, it's how they want you to run it. Again, just by memory, I know they're not UK based. So there's our decisions coming up. So Strife has got in contact with us. He's happy to take the deal, which means as of our next show we can use him. Now, what was I going to say? Yeah, we're going to have a look into relationships, where you're going to look at first we'll look at other companies. The other British companies, which you can just search location for, are 21st Century Wrestling and Championship Wrestling from Wigan. If you go into the relationships tab, and I hope that has popped up for you, I think it has. May have popped up a couple of times. It's a bit of an awkward way to do this right now. You can see that we do not have a great relationship with 21st Century Wrestling. That's the only relationship there is, however, currently for us within the industry. No other company has any opinion of us except them. The one that is in Wigan, we could be nice. And I'm going to actually see if we can get away with being nice. No. Essentially, the boss does not like the idea of us being chummy with an English company. So he just completely blocks us even being friendly to them. I'm pretty sure that would happen with most companies. I don't think he wants to work with people. I've jumped to Zen because I know they're in Australia, so they're not likely to actually affect us. Doesn't like that either. Or what's the other one? World Level Wrestling. Pro Wrestling from Japan. We've got a better chance of that. Let's see if he'll accept. Nah, they think we're too small to take workers on. and he doesn't like us becoming friendly with anybody. This could be a bit of a challenge run, purely because the boss does not like you making allies. As I said, it's a very in-depth game. If you choose one of the bigger companies like USPW, that's the biggest company in the game. It's pretty much the closest you've got to WWE. And it's a little bit easy mode at the start just because you've got high popularity people and you've got the ability to kind of move around things. But hey, there's some information coming in from the British ones. So there's been a switch to a villain, new tag team, and the fact that they had their first show of the year. You can even double click on it. It'll tell you some basic information about it. You, I think, can run through the match card? No, apparently not. That'll probably be the top part of the match. No, yeah, it does. It lets you go through the full match card. Not going to go into in depth with it, but you can see the rankings on the side. Lowest thing they got was a 52 from their opening match, and then near the end, but not the main event, they got quite a high score from a tag team match. Now we're going to jump to product now. It says no women's wrestling. Let's see if we can get it to say a small division without. Yeah, boss doesn't have an issue with a small women's division. So in that case, let's try to find us 4 women who will work with us. Role as wrestler, and we're going to try to hire. Need to be able to work in the UK. We haven't specified that yet. And that gives us a total of what? 10? 8 people that can potentially be here. You can see who they work for in the currently employed side of it. You can see where they can work and just under the word status. So I don't see any unemployed people other than Gina Warrior Princess. But let's see, is there any? And there's no Scottish ones either, which could mean they're not popular as much here. You can see popularity on the side though. There's Northern England 5 and Scotland 5 for Maisie Laurels. So running through it, we'll quickly see who has the best and hire maybe the top 4. So Blair Kerrigan is 6. Cassie is also 6. Gina is 2. Karen is 2. Maisie is 5. Thea 1. Viper is 8, but she's also 40, so she'd be a very short-term superstar. Zofia is 1. So yeah, we're going to hire Viper because she is still the best one. We're going to go with 50 per show, and hopefully she won't argue. Yeah, she seems... That's at least a potential offer. So unless somebody gives her an exclusive offer, she'll probably take that deal. Now, we also are going to take the 2 Irish women, Cassie and Blair. Fairly easy to hire those 2. Can't hire Blair because she's a high flyer, as you can see over there. I completely forgot about that. Let's see, we were going to see if we could get Maisie. Yeah, that seems like that'll be okay. And let's go with Karen. She's slightly younger, but the same popularity. You could just make her the powerhouse of it, because that's her gimmick. You could just make her the big bad of the women's division. That's a good sign though. The fact that the boss hasn't got an issue with us having the women's division is a really good start. Now we've just got to wait a few days to see if they'll actually reply to us and take the jobs. You can add new events. I'll actually look through the events that we've got booked on in the next day. Most small companies do fine with one per month, and we can skip ahead, but it pretty much just does the, what do you call it, the loading screen the same amount of times as if you just clicked next immediately. Again, I'm pretty sure they're all non-UK information. Events and TV. We've got three, yeah, all 12. So you've got different ones every single month. Don't need anything else right now because one a month's fairly fine. Nothing, not a big deal really. It'll tell you though how long you've got. You've got an hour and a half for the first card. I think for most of them it'll be about an hour and a half. Two hours for the March one. But other than that, I don't see it being... Okay, September as well. Yeah, so March and September you got a 2-hour show. Not that necessary. We actually have way more wrestlers than we really need, but hopefully we can still use a fair amount of them. You can see your size there of tiny, but we're at the 31st size. It was 31st biggest in the world. So there's like 4 smaller than us. We also have a lot of money. Like that's millions is extremely unlikely to start with as tiny, but that is kind of explained in the background that the guy who owns it just has a lot of money, so he's using his own money for this. Move on, and we'll then discuss something else on the next day, so that I'm not just sitting on day one describing it and discussing it all with you, and then all the way back skipping 19 days worth of stuff. Doing it bit by bit's a little bit better for us. This is something I might come back to every so often and do a couple of shows on. Maybe monthly or so. Oh, hold on, actually, that's quite a lot of different things that we've got popped up. Quickly reading through it, I don't think there'll be anything interesting, but better to check. Nothing huge, no UK ones anyway. But some of the women have got back to us. One of the women has got back to us. Karen has taken the job. Brilliant. That means we've only got to get the other 3. If we get the other 3, we can book a women's match at Burns Night Bash in 13 days. So 2 weeks from today. Well, just under. Oh, here's one of the ones that's actually ours. He was the head booker. We've taken that job off him. But I believe he will have a different role. We can check that though. You will see interesting bits of news, so there's someone getting married, just completely unimportant, but it happened for that character. Wrestlers can die at random, which is normally fine, unless it's the guy you were pushing for the last 2 months, and he's died right before you were going to give him the title. I mean, it can happen in real life, so that's what they try to give you a bit of fun in here as well, with the quirks of the world just screwing with you. Looks like the other 3 have all accepted the job, which is great because that means that we can get a good little arc out of this. We don't have good guys and bad guys, which is really helpful. So I'm gonna test some things out over the few months that we've got. Burns Night Bash will do all titles in the line, just so that way we've got them defended at least once in our playthrough. I'm always concerned that the bigger company in Britain is gonna try to steal people off us if they're popular enough. So they're actively the 4th biggest in the world, which is a hell of a lot bigger than them at 34th and us at 31st. So hopefully nobody in our roster is important enough for them to want to take them. If we do get notification that they're booking them and taking them for a full contract, we do have long enough. We do get a little bit of time. So I could just move the date or add a new event quickly to bury the people that they've just taken if we want to. There is some injuries coming through, just because that'll happen in the game as well. There's nothing you can do to prevent an injury. It can happen to the best wrestler you've got, just with bad luck. We'll add the women actually to a storyline, so that we've got something available for them to do, so that way we get better ratings on the actual match. We can book it. You can reference it in advance. It's not that big a deal, but you can go in and do pre-booking. Now, we don't have the title created yet, and I'm not going to create it until like the day before. But then we'll advertise it, essentially. We'll make it a big deal that that's what's going to happen in the cards. Move on one day, one more time. Might then do some pre-booking for the card, because I think we're probably out of the woods on the bigger companies hiring them before our first show. I mean, I've said that, I'm now going to get an email. No, luckily we didn't. I was expecting when I said that to get an email saying they had now hired from under you. Right, so let's book something to do with a storyline. The Funks versus Maximum Carnage and Maximum Destruction. Great, that's quick and easy. Pre-booking. It's already saying it's booked for SNP Burns Night Bash, so let's pre-book a match. You can search a little bit better and it will pull through every kind of match available in the game. There are hundreds of different matches. Well, maybe not hundreds, but loads of different matches at least. So yeah, this is where it'll crack in more. We've got the... hold on, I just clocked it. It's not decided to pop up the right thing for you. 2 seconds and I'll make sure it does. The upside of this being windowed is that it's much easier for me to tell if something's went wrong for what it's meant to be showing you. So yeah, here it should be showing, it'll be showing you competitor booking in a few minutes. There we go, that should be up and running now. It's because every single thing you do pops up a new window, so it's a bit more complex than it should be to actually make this work. So, maximum damage are 2 people in this, so we can just type in maximum carnage and maximum destruction. And then you got the Funk or Funke bunch, if you're a Arrested Development fan. Flash and Finn. Great, so we booked that match. We're advertising that match to take place at the next pay-per-view. Because the system will pull it through automatically, we can even set how long we want that match to be. And we can put a road agent note. And though they're less popular, I think we're gonna have... Are you guys seeing this part? No, you're not. Let me deal with this later. So yeah, it'll pop up and when you hit road agent note, it has a lot of different things you can add into it. So I'm adding in Finn to be the victor, which you should now be able to see at the side there. Just clocked up and it was annoying me there on the live stream for you. And I'm then going to add an extra little bit. So there's a lot here that you can put on. We're going to put in that it's going to be, what's I'm looking for? Cheap victory. So it's dirty, but it's not dirty enough to lose. Not cheap, tainted. Tainted is the one that means that you still change hands. The title would still change hands. But people will feel a little bit cheated by this. And I want them to want the rematch between these 2 teams at the next pay-per-view. So you can pre-book it, no problem, sorted. how many other storylines? 4 other storylines, including the one that I have added in. There's these ones. I don't think there's a big deal because they're not big superstars. I think you've got 2 of them that are alright and 2 of them that are tiny. You've got a Fatal 4-Way coming up that we can book. We've got a triple threat. Nope, that would be a tag because Mark Carney is not a wrestler. And then we've got another 4-way match. So we'll deal with that later on. Maybe a bit closer to the time. In fact, nah. Yeah, the next week we'll book a... Not next week. Next show we'll book one of the one-on-one matches, and we'll try to figure out what else we want to do. Didn't expect to have such a difficulty with the windows. I thought they would all correctly work through. As they haven't, if I'm doing this again, I will be a bit more in-depth with my checking to make sure it works. Didn't look like it would fail, but apparently it will. Okay, so the storylines that we've got left. We've got... This is maybe a big match. So... You can look through it and you can check who the important people are. So, Meathead McCauley and Jeffrey McPeterson are your 2 main important people. Bat Cooper and The Damned are his team. So, we're going to do another bit of pre-booking. So, pre-book match. People in this who watch this show quite like a bit of a brutal fight. So what we're going to do is... Let's do a tables match for the big event. Now, I don't know if we've got major stars here. Yeah, they are both major stars, which is great. You've got Jeffrey McPeterson and Meathead McCauley. People tend to like a car crash kind of match where it's not pretty, it's just beat the crap out of people. It's not meant to be cute or fancy or anything like that. You'll see I've just changed it to that in the road agent notes. Adding the King of Scotland title to be on the line. And we're gonna have Jeffrey win that match, but it's gonna be again outside interference that causes it. So Macaulay's gonna get the crap kicked out of him by The Damned, and that'll be why Peterson wins. We can put that all in advance. We don't need to do anything with it. We don't need to do anything else because that means on the day of the show we can just click add to the card and they'll add it straight away. This is just us getting bit by bit closer to the show. Again, as I said, I don't want to just do we're skipping ahead, we're skipping ahead, we're skipping ahead. What we'll probably do if we do this in the future is we'll jump on, book the show, and then just skip ahead to the next show unless there's anything interesting that's happening. So it will just be that we jump on the intermission, we chat for a bit, anything like that. You can get, there's more UK information. We've had somebody change to being a good guy, another new tag team. And yeah, there's the results of their card. Again, it looks like they've not managed to get their best stuff at the end of the show, which is when you really want it. You've got an 82 there, and it's way better than their main event. That's a good thing for us, because we really don't want them to be looking great if we can get away with it. Back to our storylines, we've got... This is just another of those. This is just another tag match. We don't have a... I'm not even going to pre-book that one. It's not that important to me. We can pre-book this one because this looks like it could be an interesting concept. Just a one-on-one match again, though. So pre-book match. What kind of 1 versus 1 match do we want? Should we have just steel cage? Why not? Let's keep going brutal. course, it helps if you remember who it is you need to have on there, but you can jump into storylines here as well. So Dwayne Dark and Stuart Wilson. Brilliant. Easy enough. I can just pretty much type their names in. That time limit will be fine. We'll decide who wins closer to the event. You don't need to decide who wins, you can just tell the game, figure it out. And your road agent will be the one that does that. In real life, the road agent is really only needed for big companies. They would be the one that kind of scripts the match, tells them what the main things that need to happen in it are. Different workers like to work in different ways. Some people like to script the match start to finish, others like to just call it as it happens and play off the crowd. Both ways are legitimate, and it doesn't mean you're a better or worse wrestler for either side. Again, we're getting no new owner goals, which kind of surprised me. We might get more after our first show though. Yeah, so finance, you get to actually look in depth to everything about this. So far we're not going to actually be seeing anything because we've not had a match. We can see what's happened so far, but it's not that important yet. Production, very little, but we've not had a show yet, so anything like that. You can get really in-depth with merchandise as well, if you really wanted. But hey, you can even see that we've actually made some money off the Ivanov twins. We're going to just upgrade, because I don't see a reason not to upgrade your stuff to about the highest, because the better you've got, it means it might not be immediately helpful, but once you start getting popular, it's really good to have good quality merchandise, because people will then buy more of it. They won't need to replace it as often, but that means they're more willing to buy it again if something does happen. You'll get to see the little bits of drama if you do get the chance to read through some of the profiles. So there's the had his neck broken so we could change his character, that sort of thing. Others aren't storyline. Sometimes it is genuinely, no, they got injured and it fucked with their career, which isn't as fun. That's fine. We've got 6 days left. It's not that big a deal. You can even check if you want to be nice and give anybody a birthday gift of another match or a title or something like that, because you can check who gets a birthday that month. Try to think of other things. Production. This isn't that big a deal to us because we don't really have anyone who's big enough on one side or small enough on the other to be a threat. So our production values are completely fine. We don't even have anyone classed as a rival. So it means that those that are smaller than us might have different setups, or bigger than us will probably have different setups, but it's not affecting our stats. That's the thing. You can check medical to see if anybody's injured and if you can give them surgery to get them back on. Ticket prices, normally you should put them on normal, there's no need not to. You can go premium to get a good bit more expensive, but it's a risky move. You've got cheap, very cheap and free. There's no point in doing free if you're not televising, unless you're trying to get popularity in a region. So once I'm a bit bigger, I might start doing a couple of free shows south of the border just to try to boost some popularity, and then later on push the prices back up. Nothing's guaranteed yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. There's characters all around the world. The hardest place to work your career in this is India, because there's very few wrestlers and no companies currently open, so you need to start a company from scratch. Obviously the US being probably the easiest to get started, but overall it's still one of the hardest ones to actually run because there's so much competition there. We're going to need to make sure that Strife gets a match on Burns Night Bash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the roster, and we're just going to check what Strife's popularity is. Right, so we don't yet know. There's no point in us doing anything else yet. We'll check and see who is a male wrestler with similar popularity, though. If we can. There we are. So, between, I don't know, 4 and 8, because he's on 6. Oh Christ, it's only him. This could be a bit more difficult to make him popular then, because he's not got anybody to work with. There's people who are lower. There's the Avatar of Hardcore Mick Avatar. And there's Toxic. So that should be manageable. We should be able to get that. Even just giving him a match with somebody alongside somebody popular, that should be more than enough. It's frozen up for a minute, but again, we should be fine if we just wait for a few minutes and then it'll bounce back. I've literally never had it have real issues. I've just had to do that every so often. Another marriage before you've even had something. There's the end of a tag team. Somebody dropping out of a group. Somebody who just missed a show, which is probably their car breaking down or something like that. Yeah, even says that. 2 companies starting to go to war with each other. I also think that's the biggest and smallest company in Australia fighting one another, so that's a hell of a way to do it. Somebody's quit completely, and apparently it was bad. But that's Japan. There's no point in us even doing anything with it. So yeah, it's interesting to see what happens. There's the other side of it though. The Women's Wrestling Company of America has essentially started working with a Mexican company to try to essentially flex some companionship, see how things go. It's not a bad idea, but our boss is against it. Back to the office quickly. House shows are something we don't need to worry about yet because we don't have any. We're not a big enough company to care about house shows. You can use them to test out ideas though. Some people work better together than others. This is what I can show you actually. Backstage. We've currently got positive backstage morale because apparently we provide a masseuse and a chiropractor. I mean, that's not bad. I'm not a fan of the fact that we've got a dirty doctor, so I'm going to try removing him and then just organising transport and hoping that bounces between the two. Yeah, so doing that has not affected the popularity of the rules. I'm hoping that it's soft drugs because I can cope with that better. I'd rather not, but I can cope with it if people have issues. We'll figure it out because I will be doing a drug test every so often. You can just drug test the full roster. We're not going to do that yet, but we can do that at any time. Moving on. What we'll probably do the next chance, our next day, we'll try to figure out what we're doing with a mid-card match, even if we don't know exactly what the plan is overall. If it's just to have a match, that's fine, we can put that on. I also try to show talking to people, because you can speak to your wrestlers. So, we don't really care anymore. We just need any superstar. Now we're going to try and narrow it down to stars only, which is those who aren't quite popular enough to be the top of the ground. Aren't quite popular enough to be the top. We've already got all of these people planned, so that's not It's not the best, but we can move down to one stage below. I think you've got a match. You don't. Yeah, so you can check through. Brilliant Light. He's not even too old. Yeah, we can go for this. We'll see if we can speak to Ultraviolence and see if he's willing to put over. Yeah, so putting someone over as in letting them win. He doesn't agree to it. Doesn't mean he's not going to do it. It just means he's not interested in saying, yeah, that's fine with me. You got Hellraiser, who looks like he'll get the crap kicked out of him every single time. We probably couldn't get away with asking him to put over Strife. That's probably a bit too much considering he's not on the card. Yeah, he's not saying no, he's saying he's not willing yet. Can't really argue with that. But this guy, who he doesn't like, there's 100 things that can happen. They'll say yes or no to them. But yeah, you can get people to agree to that sort of thing if you're lucky. Sometimes they'll approach you. So one of your top guys might go, I really like this guy who's the middle of the card. So if you want to give him the win over me, I'm cool with that. One time. And that can give the lower down guy such a big boost. Makes it much easier for him to become popular because he's already kind of had the nod. 2 days away. We're almost there. We'll do this show the aftermath, and then we'll figure out what we want to do from there. We still have another, 30 minutes, roughly? 40? A lot of time will be taken up with actually booking the card, I suppose, so that's another thing. Great, there's another person missing the show, but again, it looks like it's transport again. There's our rivals who are still doing fairly well. Right, what's the plan? We've got stables. That's essentially bigger than a tag team. So you've got the big villains, and the ones who you could probably make not that big a deal, not completely evil, but considering that they're all ganging up on the one guy, you can probably easily continue to have them villains as well. Different ways you can do it as well. We don't need to worry about this yet. It's the sort of thing we'll look into a bit later on. This is more for us to set up and start the game. As I said, we'll come back to this every so often and just do a couple of shows and call it a day there. Over time, we'll see if we can build the company into something actually useful, rather than one of the smaller companies in the world. Unlikely that without a lot of good luck we would overtake 21st Century Wrestling, but you never know. A lot happened this time. So somebody got hurt, someone started dating, someone's pregnant. Pregnancy does mean that they're gonna stop being available, because what can you really do? They've got to stop wrestling while they're pregnant. So it's good that she's not one of ours. Cool. So tonight is when our show is. As a result, let us add a new title. You guys cannot see the title creation screen, but we'll do that quickly. And I'll do gender, female only, and level floating. So we now have a women's title. We don't have any champion. That's completely fine, because we're about to pre-book the women's match. doesn't really need much, in my opinion. It can just be a match. So 4-way singles. Not even going to make it an elimination match. We're just going to make it a normal match. Cassie, Karen, Maisie and Viper. Short match isn't too big a deal, and yeah, that should be easy enough. Right, we're moving on now to the actual meat of the game. It'll automatically book the most appropriate venue for you, but we'll check venues anyway once we've dealt with the backstage incident, which I hope you can see flashing yellow. Yeah, so we've got something from Phil. Right, you didn't get to see what the outcome of this is. So essentially he's just boosted morale by doing something entertaining backstage. It's not a big deal. Sometimes you'll get big drama moments when it's, oh yeah, those two had a big fight and now one of them's stormed out. But not this time at least. Lucky for us. You do get a limited access to your office during the show, but there's not... I feel like if you're using it at this point, you've kind of messed up a little bit. Checking the venue, we are at the Caledonian Club. Caledonian Club holds 300 people and we're expecting 100. But everywhere else holds way more than that, so yeah. The most appropriate one is just the small Caledonian Club. You can check the booking analysis to tell you what you need. That's pointing out that we've not had any of the 4 matches we've pre-booked on the show yet, and none of our storylines have been furthered. But you can just click and it'll add them all to the booking sheet just now. Oh, sorry, that's on me. We're going to say that Karen Bilius is going to win this one, purely because she is the most experienced, even if she's not the most popular. So we kind of want her to be the one that wins this. Dwayne Dark, Stuart Wilson. What's this? That was me accidentally trying to pre-book a match. Adding to the booking sheet, Dwayne Dark versus Stuart Wilson. Just to confirm, he is not telling me. There we go. Dwayne Dark is well known. That's great. That means that this will be a fairly base match for us. Got this, the other one-on-one where it's going to be interference to end it. That will make the main event. And we've got the tag team match. That's also easy enough. We don't have a lot of clean finishes tonight, which isn't amazing, but it happens. Right, we need something that's going to steal the show. I think we could get away with the tag match being the one that steals the show, because even though it'll be a tainted finish, it'll still be entertaining up until that point. So I might even make that the main event actually. So if we right click, we can move that right up there. We'll also, while we're at it, move that to the second part. And we should be okay from there. Now, adding more matches, because we should have more matches. I don't think we have any major stars that haven't been used. No, we do. We still have that tag team. So, what tag teams are left? Quite a few. That's easy enough. We can just put them against some of the lower down people, and we did have other storylines as well, though, didn't we? That we hadn't booked anything for. So let's have a look at them. It was just this one. Alton Vicious and Derek Jordan versus McGregor and Monty. We tag team match there. And Monty. Is he... Yeah, brilliant. Tells us who the other one is. Don't really care how long the match is, don't really care who wins the match, it's just to keep the show going. Again, you can tell the system that you want to see everybody, but I tend to like to click off already booked so that I don't accidentally say, oh I'll use this guy, and I've already put him in 2 other matches that day. That tag team, I might have them do something in a bit of a promo instead. Nobody that's a star is missing. We've got these 4. What else have we got? The recognisable, quite a lot of recognisable people. I'm pretty sure, yep, one of them was a title holder. And we also had a few people. This will be fairly easy though. What we'll do is we'll book a handicap match, and that'll be a good way to try to get Strife over a little bit. Two versus 3. We book a well-known superstar. Brilliant White, he'll do. As well as Strife to take on someone recognisable and the other 2 unimportant. Let's go with Thumper Simmons. Great name, that'll do it. Means that we've got... I'll put our avatar in the match, because why wouldn't we? And Piccolo, because we mentioned him earlier on. It doesn't even need to be that long a match. I'm just going to have Brilliant White win the match, so that way it doesn't accidentally screw over the popular guy. What else do we need? Why not do a title match for that that hardcore title? So they were all recognisable, I think. Yeah, you got Norman Gates. Now let's quickly scan through who's got the best. So 13, 15. We're just running through popularity here. Quite a few at 15. I don't think there's anybody higher than that. I think 15 must be the cap before it stops being us, if you know what I mean, starts being potentially well known instead. That's not too big a deal though. Let's give... Well, Carl Edwards has warm momentum, so he's been doing well recently. Let's give him one. Anybody else? You're in a good mood, so I actually don't think we need to give you anything to make you happy. And Bally, why not give Bally the match as well? This is the problem with having way too many wrestlers on the card. I wanted to hire some people to show you what was happening, but it was probably a bad idea now that I think about it. Now, I don't mind who wins this. It's not a big deal to me, so I'm going to let the road agent decide. Hold on, he's not the king. Nope, that was the wrong title I put on the line. That's fine now. Happy to let the road agent decide who wins this. Now, we're trying to figure out now where we want to put matches. Let's put Dwayne at the start of the show, so that way it kicks off with a bit of a bang, a bit of an oomph to it. And yeah, you know what? If in the middle of the show we had a promo, ambush. Nope, they've got to be in the ring for that. So backstage attack maybe? Beat down backstage, that'll probably be it. Yeah, so we've got Ivan and Igor Ivanov, and they'll beat up the Carnage and Destruction. It'll be early-ish on in the card, and I'll add them to the storyline of Get Funky. So that way it makes it a little bit... It adds a bit more intrigue to the show. Because we're now changing the storyline to give them even more people to battle. I like that the that Maximum Damage did not argue with losing the title. That makes things a lot easier for us. Well, we're going to start now. We're just over 90 minutes. We advertised the card at 90 minutes. And because it's not televised, we can be about 50... I think it's 50%? Not 50. 15% either side. So we can be almost 2 hours, or we can be just over an hour. Great. So, though it's out the segment rating of 35, it is out of 100, but we are also a very small company. So 35 is a brilliant start to the show. I'm quite happy with that. You can look through everything about this. You can look through the road agent report, just the very basic things. He was 34, he was 35. Because of the storyline, we got the 35. It also gave him a victory in a cage match. Tells us what the road agents were told to do. Tells us the times that we were given, everything like that. Dirt sheet is something you don't need if you're a bit more interested and you've got much better at the game, because it tells you in-depth things that you wouldn't have found out otherwise. So like, we got bonuses for Stuart Wilson being apparently brilliant. The road agent gave us good bonus. Kicking off was great. The fact that Stuart Wilson is new marked us down a little bit, and the fact that the storyline's not that interesting marked us down a bit. But it was a good way to start the show. There we go, 27 right afterwards, and Bali Daljit has won the hardcore title as our first title match of the show. The guy that I was saying was in a good mood is apparently really off his game today, which is helpful, because that just fucked his rating entirely. So even though Daljit had the lowest performance, that could have just been playing off the crowd. Dirt sheet. Yeah, so it looks like it was just, he managed to sell well enough and they went, yeah, give him the title. They didn't like this one very much. They did not like Strife, which is not good for us. Hopefully we can kind of force them to like him by overexposure, but maybe not. They didn't hate the Avatar character, but he was absolutely one of the two weakest. Him and Strife were the weakest two. Could make a storyline out of that though. Those two can just brawl with each other on the pre-show, and I might start doing that. That has brought us down a little bit. Our segment rating was only 21 there. But hey, we got a lot of good bonuses from Brilliant White. Quite a lot was bad for us though. We didn't do amazing with most of that. This pushes us back though. There's the victory for Vicious and Jordan, which gives us... They got a bonus because they're quite good as a tag team. So you can see that a lot of information dropped here, telling us who gave us bonuses, why they got bonuses. I think our first one might be the best. The fact that these two got is apparently not as interesting, but the crowd seemed to like it. As you can see, the angle got the crowd hotter. Seemed like everything other than our... So if you look at the penalised for chemistry, it looks like their manager is more popular than they are, which can be its own problem. Pretty sure their manager's Kitty, so I might just have them turn on her. This is the women's one. This is the one I was most concerned about, and yet it looks like people actually liked it ish. They enjoyed it for a women's match, which they've never seen, so we'll take that. It might say terrible because of the total rating, but we'll take the fact that it didn't put us into a red score for that segment. People's high morale and charisma have really helped with this one. That's a brilliant one. That pushes us right back up. This is the one that would have been the main event if not for the fact that I think the tag one will be more important, and I'm really hoping I'm right. Oh, it's not Kitty, because she was the Meathead's manager. You can see that there. This is brilliant because it looks like the crowd seems to love the fact that he didn't quite manage it this time. And next time, we're absolutely going to give it to him. King of Scotland's storyline's low heat hasn't helped it, but still we've got 45 there and wasn't as good. That's disappointing. But it still looks like people enjoyed it, which is great for us considering we're a small company. That's the important thing. If we can get people to enjoy it, we'll still improve, we'll still get better. Dirt sheet just tells us again the basics. That's brilliant because that's the full, or the opening. Yeah, there's not a huge amount that has not marked us down, so we can end the show here. Boosted our popularity in one region. That one region is going to be Scotland because that's where we were showing the match. At the end of it, you can make a speech, and I think we're gonna give Peterson and Macaulay some credit for the work they did. And we'll give Stuart Wilson a wee bit of praise as well. So, Meathead Macaulay should be complimented a good performance. What was his face? Jeffrey McPeterson complimented a good performance, and Stuart Wilson should just boost their morale a little bit. I mean, they're more willing to work hard in the future. And hey, we've got to give props. The non-wrestler, who's the Stuart Wilson, who apparently is an Olympian rather than a wrestler, did alright in a hardcore environment. He was not unpopular. Can actually potentially push him quite well. So yeah, I'll go back to the running through. So we apparently go head to head with the other British one, but because we are very specialised, we should be alright. We're more aiming for Scottish fans anyway. Where's our... yeah, there's ours listed. And yeah, feedback's been positive. We've won friends. People enjoyed that enough that we should be alright. We might not have moved yet on the popularity thing though, because it is the first show. That might be one up. I don't actually... there is a way to track it. Let me... yeah, there's there. Well, it doesn't tell me. We have gotten a little bit better. That is a good start. And we didn't end any of the storylines, so we can continue them next time. Checking through, the tag team title matches are going well. The second one has actually been pushed into doing well. This is good for people. Looks like the only one that's not meeting standards is the women's title, and we kind of expected that. So that's great. That makes this a lot easier for us. We're going to put another storyline on, which is going to fuck with our metrics a little bit. But I do think if we... King of Strong, why not? And we'll call it... we're putting Hardcore McAvitar and Strife in a rivalry. The reason we're doing that is because neither of them were great, and if we can kind of use that to improve the two of them at once, that's the goal in it. So let's go with that. We've got 20 days until our next event. You can see that our momentum's improved though from this. Overall, are we going to be... we're going to be in the red on this one, so the workers are costing us a fuck ton. But we can kind of accept this right now. I don't mind us having quite a bit paid yet, as long as we start working this out better a little bit later on. Let's move on to the next day, just in the off chance we get any more owner goals. We've still got 15 minutes, so we'll move on a little bit further. Get a little bit closer to the next day. I'll probably move us right on to the next event, unless something's happening before the next time I do this, which will probably be in, say, month. Thursdays aren't going to be purely this. They've got their own another TV show, which is not great for us. But hey, no new owner goals. I'm surprised that they've not given us anything new, but I'm not going to argue either. The upside is we can lose money as long as we then start improving again. Merchandising, yeah, we'll still be alright, I'm sure. And I think we could probably get away with premium because we were popular enough, weren't we? So, yeah. Let's go with it. Let's hope for the best. Our popularity means we should get, what, $16 a ticket? That's not too bad. What else have we got? Nothing else. I'm not thinking we're needing to do anything else until the next pay-per-view, which is helpful. I don't really want to get much bigger as a company yet, because that'll really fuck with us if we're too big. You can set your game to give you a maximum size. I'm happy for us to get bigger yet because we don't quite need anything yet. But I'm hoping it's not that we don't take it quickly. Cool. Because we did hire someone through Creative, if we went back to Hidden Gems, we will see at least one other person added to it. Martin Heath, I think, is the one that's been added to that. He's not a bad option, but we've got way too many people just now. Quite honestly, at this point, I'm actually more likely to fire people than hire them. You can check a diary in case there's anything important. There should be a way to check, and I say should be, there is a way to check your other superstars, your people, and what time their contracts expire in a list. It's not important enough right now. I think, do you know what? Let's get a bit more nasty. Let's go for it with. Yeah, okay. We started saying they were a bit of an ass, and they said the same back. Fair enough. Fun enough, we don't even have a negative opinion of them. We just decided we were a bit hostile towards them, and they went, "Yeah, screw you." The biggest problem for them is they're a tiny company. So, what I could do with the amount of money that I've got is I could fuck with them. If I go over to there, I can see if anyone's popular enough in Scotland and see if they want to join my company instead. Doesn't look like there's anybody that interesting, but he's been in a few of the games, he's got some skill behind him, so I wouldn't be against taking him. Same with Martin Heath, who was actually on my list. Now, it wouldn't be exclusive, so he'd still be able to work for the other guys, but you know what, actually we will take those two. Purely because it'll fuck with them if they've got other options to watch those two on. So yeah, let's go with those two just now. Oh, let's not go with Martin Heath. Not a fan of high flyers, keep forgetting that. Could probably get away with Lenny. Yeah, we can. Brilliant. I know I'm hiring more people when I really shouldn't be hiring more people because we don't have the money for it, but we're gonna take. I just clocked that Lenny was their champion. I'm really happy with the idea of taking him now. Because if we can fuck with them and take their champion and then just use him as fodder for our guys, that'll completely screw with with his momentum. This could work. We won't be able to get with it today because we've only got another 15 minutes before I end the stream at most, probably less than that. But let's see if we can get long enough. There's a divorce. That's depressing. ish. And then this person's trying to politic their way around the game. It's interesting seeing what you can and can't spot and what does and doesn't happen in the world. This is up to an 8-player game. I don't think it works that well with more than 2 actual people, but it means that you can try to experiment with all different playstyles at once if you wanted to. If you're ever going to do that, I would not recommend taking more than taking the biggest companies, because the biggest companies need the most attention. So if you're already doing United States Pro Wrestling, you don't have the time to also be doing 21st Century Wrestling for the British side. We do have some decisions to make. Sharp has been happy to take this, which is brilliant. $50 a show, and Lenny has not yet replied to us. But knowing that they're fairly popular, I can kind of estimate where they'll be on the card. Think we could maybe make him work. Yeah, brilliant. The other person, Lenny, has also replied to us, and he's taking the job as well. Great. So let's quickly check. What was this actually looking at? Ah, well-known wrestlers. John is 12, so he'll probably be recognisable because he's around the same as J.K. Lee. He was under 15, which I think was where we had agreed was the cut-off, and I think Lenny will probably also be alright to be recognisable. That's great. We can easily put those two into a bit of a brawl with people. Have them have the crap kicked out of them because they're both English, and that'll really go well with this group of fans because the Scottish fans tend to be a fan of the English getting the crap kicked at them. I think at 48 we need to stop hiring, so I'll make sure I stop hiring for the rest of the time that we're this small a company. Might be a good thing if people start stealing our staff, actually. Right, let's see if anything happens in the next, say, couple of days. When we reach Monday, week 5. No, Monday, week 1 of February. We will move on. We'll shut down for the day and call it there. No, nothing interesting. And no decisions or anything like that down the bottom to tell us that. Our season finale is in March, so we're fine. I think we'll be alright with this. I think we're going to wrap it in the next few unless we get something interesting happen. Oh, with my luck, somebody's going to die, aren't they? Right, let's see what we've got. Nah, nothing that we need to worry about just now. But that is the biggest companies in the wrestling world's pay-per-view, which was a bit of a long pay-per-view. Looks like it was a good plan though, because their best match was their main event. It was a world title match. It did a lot for them, so let's give them the credit there, I suppose. And they got away with a women's match in the setting too, because it's not always the best plan. You often have better popularity for the male wrestlers, so it's nice to see that they managed to get a good match, even if it wasn't one of their best ones, for the women's match right before the main event. Cool, so unless something happens this time, I think we'll call it once we've moved on to the next day. SNP isn't the easiest company in the world to start with, but I think the sheer amount of money you've got at the start means it's not that big a deal. so month end. Great. That's everything. Well, some people are retiring. It's not ours, which is great. So yeah, one last thing as you check, as we're calling it there, we have got 2 years to get the money up, so it should be plenty of time. Should be, probably won't be, but hopefully it will be. 12 days, so that would be Saturday of week 2 that we get our next pay-per-view. I'll probably just move us on to that before the next time I actually do a stream of Total Extreme Wrestling, but meh, we never know. I might not if anything comes up in those next 12 days. However, I think we'll call it there for a day. Thanks for watching the stream, and I'll see you on Saturday for my new stream of Assassin's Creed. During that, we will be taking a drink for every time we kill somebody who isn't our target and isn't a reasonable target. I'll explain more on the day. I also now have a Twitter account, which is just Kironicus14, where I'll be announcing new streams and mentioning what game I'm playing on the Thursday. It'll also give you reminders of events, of my streams the morning before they happen. I've now also created a YouTube specifically to archive old videos. So 2 weeks after the stream kicks off, no, not 2. 1 week after the stream is released on Twitch, it'll be released on my YouTube channel separately, in case you want to watch that instead. Some people prefer YouTube to Twitch. But anyway, have a nice evening, and I'll see you again.